Welcome back, everyone, to the Nerdy Pastor. It has been a minute, but wanted to do another quick entry into the What's on My Shelf series, and one that I've been meaning to do for some time, but had a little bit of a moment today to plug. And I think I saw this book on sale the last 3 or 4 weeks a number of times, and I just want to encourage everyone who's a listener out there, including those who go to my church, to get this volume to help kind of wade your way through um, how to read the Puritans. And the Puritans there's so many of them. They're not just located in one country, they're in many countries. And there's just such a breadth and diversity of them. Sometimes it's just really hard to know where to start. And I know a number of you on our channel have asked me that very question. And I always will tell you John Bunyan. You always want to start with John Bunyan or John Flavel as well, or Thomas Watson. Probably the easiest to read overall. Watson's probably a little bit more didactic in how he talks. Bunyan is real illustrative and challenging, but Watson's a little bit more kind of discursive and poignant in how he talks, and very illustrative and poetic almost in many ways. And Flavel is a little bit more straightforward. Robert Trail is also very easy to read, though he doesn't have quite as many things to read, though he has a 2 volume that just came out by Banner. So as you can already tell, just in a few seconds of talking, there's just a whole lot to this period of Protestant history and the writers that you can read from that will just nourish your soul a whole lot. And again, I kind of hold to the C.S. Lewis version of chronological snobbery is something that we all have, and we all need to kind of just kind of check ourselves a little bit at the door and go back into history and pull from the gems that the Lord has used, both pastorally, theologians, and the writings that they have to supplement our reading of Scripture and prayer life and devotion. This book called Meet the Puritans um, is just absolutely fantastic. It could not be a better, more useful resource. To me, it's probably one of the most useful books I have, and I have a lot of books. It's just one of the most useful books I have. I'm with the Puritans a lot, and there's obviously a lot of different Puritans, and the strengths of this book is that it really is like a guide, a map to learning who these Puritans are, where their writings can be found, and it gives you a snapshot of why you would want to dive into such and such book. You can look and maybe want to buy a number of little gems that are for sale on these bookstore websites like Reformation Heritage, or Ligonier Ministries, or Banner of Truth, or many other very conservative Presbyterian Reformed and many Reformed Baptist publishers. There are a lot more out there. Soli Deo Gloria, Tentmaker, these others that are out there. I would just encourage you that having this handy will really help you figure out what's useful for you. One of my just favorite go-to books, because it gives you this snapshot of a biography for these folks within some as short as George Swinnock here, 2 pages, 2 page biography. Okay, and then you immediately go over to someone else, 1 page biography, Joseph Simmons. And notice there's one book that's in print or recently printed that they give a discussion about. And that's what's so great about this book, is that it gives you just enough biographical information to kind of connect with who this writer is. And then it gives you a guide to all the modern reprints of their literature. And some of this stuff, they're printing so much lately that there is even stuff in here that's not in there, or there's stuff out there that's not in here. That's just that much being printed from Puritans, and which is really exciting. That their works there's just this plethora of content and resources that are out there, but it really is hard to discern what's the most useful. So just for sheer use, this book is a must get for those of you that are really wanting to go back and read the old Reformers, Puritans. This includes Scottish Puritans, and a number of other older writers during that kind of Elizabethan era, up through the great difficulties in the 1660s, the Great Ejection, as they call it. So this period, of about 100 years, or per se, maybe less than that, this will be a great resource for you. So I cannot recommend this any higher for just usefulness. Just in the recent weeks, I've been going back and forth from Thomas Boston to Jonathan Edwards to Robert Trail to a number of other sources, Puritans, just different books from them on different subjects, and just going to this book to get a snapshot of what this book is about that I'm about to look at or read. The person, it's just a very useful book. So for those of you that are into the Puritans or want to get into the Puritans and want to know what to buy and what is out there, Meet the Puritans by Joel Beeke and Randall Peterson is just the most useful book I've found. And it's not going to introduce you to the theology of the Puritans or other books for that. It's not going to give you kind of like a guide to how to read them per se, but it's just going to be almost a guidebook on what to buy, why to buy, what's out there, and who these folks are. And there are so many of them that you really need some mapping from an expert, a couple experts in this. So I want to recommend on my shelf one of my most useful books that I have, Meet the Puritans, with a guide to modern reprints. My favorite, and one little note here before I finish up here, one of my favorites is if you go to, let's go to Thomas Watson here real fast. And Watson has a lot. There's a lot to Thomas Watson, but you get a picture of him, which means it's awesome if you have a picture. You get a picture of him, you get what looks to be, I think his is not that long. Yeah, his biography is only about 2 pages. I mean, he's a really established Puritan, very well respected. He gets 2 pages. Bunyan, I think, gets 20, so we know where their loyalties lie. And then you get these snapshots of all his most famous works, along with if there are any publications of his works as a whole. And so what you see here is you've got a little snapshot of All Things for Good, a Banner paperback, The Art of Divine Contentment, that's on Soli Deo Gloria, the Beatitudes, which is fairly well known from the Banner, Body of Divinity, his most well-known book, and one of Banner's most well-known books as well, and bestsellers, The Duty of Self-Denial, another one, The Fight of Faith Crowned, The Godly Man's Picture, Gleanings from Watson. I mean, he goes on and on. This is why his biography is not so long, because he has so many reprints here. Heaven Taken by Storm is one of my favorite of his. And it goes on and on. I mean, he's got 20 or 25, it looks like, little notations on his modern reprints. And so it shows how helpful this book is. So if you're like, well, I'd like to read Heaven Taken by Storm, or let's say I'd like to read The Art of Divine Contentment, but I really don't know what it's about, and I'd love to see the perspective on this. And it's a pastoral perspective on this book. So it's not going to just be what the publisher says on the back, which is good. It's going to give you a little insight into what this book is about and where it's helpful. This is especially helpful for Puritans because most of their writings are just sermons collected and given a thematic title. So typically what Beeke and Peterson do here, which is really good, is that they isolate a lot of times the most helpful sermons and why, and that can help you as well. So again, it's a time saver, it's wisdom to help you kind of guide through things, and it's just a great resource that's super useful, and I want to commend it to everyone out there. I think I saw it on Reformation Heritage for $18 last month, which is nuts, just nuts. The quality of publishing, the work that goes into this stuff, I mean, it's like pennies. It might be back to its normal $30 price, I'm sure, but if you can find it on sale, I'd really encourage you to get that. So Meet the Puritans. It's got to be on your bookshelf if you're into the Puritans and the Old Reformed Baptists and Presbyterians. All right, signing off.